Over the past 2 years on this channel, we've covered elevated horror, remakes, reviews of newly released movies, horror tropes, 31 days of horror movies for October, and many more. But today, we are going over my top 10 favorite horror movies. This has been a long time coming and it's been requested, so this should definitely be fun. If you're new to the channel, subscribe to your boy, like the video, and comment down below your top 10 favorite horror movies. And without further ado, let's get it. Alright, Spooky Gang, so this is my top 10 favorite horror movies. And once again, these are the movies that I love the most, not the top 10 best horror movies. So that'll be something completely different. This is just the ones that I love to watch the most, the ones that really truly mean something, the movies that are more than just a movie to me. Now, within this top 10, you absolutely are going to see some of these movies that are relatively similar or have like similar premises and things of that nature, because some of these movies I just have a type. And some of the important elements that go into what makes a movie one of my favorites is a lot of it has to do with atmosphere. Atmosphere is super important to me. The acting and the characters is another thing that's super important. If you have a quality villain or antagonist and the plot isn't just flat out dumb or ridiculous, then you have a good chance of probably being one of my favorite horror movies. So with all that out of the way, the movie that's coming in at number 10 in my top 10 favorite horror movies is the movie Insidious. Insidious made this list at number 10 sort of out of its legacy and nostalgia for me. Insidious, I remember seeing this way back in 2010 and it was a spectacle. Anybody who's a fan of this channel already knows that I'm a big fan of like haunted house type movies, and this was a movie that kept that element and then took it to another level by adding in the further and astral projection, and that's sort of really the first movie that I can think of that really incorporated that idea. You know, some movies might have had, you know, dreams and things of that nature, but it wasn't exactly like the way this movie does it. James Wan's ability to be able to craft scares and really make you feel uncomfortable, like even with the Tiny Tim song Tiptoe by the Window, like that really added a great element to the movie. Love the Lambert family as a whole, so Patrick Wilson and Rose Byrne and Lynn Shay as Elise. Now, if you would have asked me this years ago, this movie would have been higher on my list. But one thing I will say that didn't quite age as well is the fact that is some of those jarring sounds to sort of create a jump scare in a way. That's one thing that really didn't age well. It just kind of sometimes seems like they're just too loud and too abrasive and just like in your face, where it's like, okay, you starting to lose some of your luster. But overall, still, like, there's nothing that will ever make me feel like this is a bad movie, and that's why it's coming in at number 10 on my list of the top 10 favorite horror movies. Coming in at number 9 is another movie that I love, clearly, and that movie is Barbarian. This is a movie that I've also talked about a good amount on this channel, and it's just a movie that has continually climbed up the rankings and has made it all the way to number 9 so far. This movie was unique to me just because it has that level of satire, and it's like the most unserious, serious movie that you could ever watch in your life. Like, Zach Cregger does an excellent job of really giving you that this is kind of dark comedy, but like this stuff really shouldn't be funny, but it is funny, but like that type of feel to it. Some of these things that are just really cruel and disgusting, but then you have a character like Justin Long, and he sees the setup for some of this sick stuff that has happened previously, and yet he just completely ignores it. Like, to him, the main important thing was him getting extra square footage so he can liquidate this home and get more money because of the thing that he's going through. Is Keith this bad guy or is he not? And then you have this big mother character, and you know, later on down the movie you actually have some level of sympathy to her because it seems that all she ever wanted was her baby. And so like little things like that, this movie just has so much charm. And like I said, it's at number 9 and it 100% deserves it. Love this movie. The movie that is coming in at number 8 is also a banger that I absolutely love, and that is the movie Evil Dead 2013. I've gone on record and I've said that Evil Dead 2013 is the best in the franchise and is my favorite in the franchise. I feel that it does a lot of the things that we love about the original, but it just does it in a more modern way. Even with the modernization, one thing that they did was they really juiced up the Deadites. The Deadites here are actually real threats. Like, it's something that was like, okay, like, when I see this Deadite, like, I don't want to be anywhere near this thing. When Natalie gets possessed and taken over, and she has the nail gun, and Mia, who's the main character in this movie, when she gets taken over, and she just looks creepy basically throughout the entire movie until the time where David brings her back to life. So it's just, it's so many of those little things. I'm a gore hound, so this movie is like perfect for anybody who loves gore. So yeah, this movie is just one of my favorites. I love throwing this movie on. I can throw it on at any time. Gore fest of a movie. That's the best way I can put it. Coming in at number 7 of my favorite horror movies is the movie Child's Play, the original from 1988. I could probably go all day talking about Child's Play. A lot of it is through nostalgia. Nostalgia is definitely a huge factor in terms of how much I love a movie. But growing up, like all of my cousins, like having Bride of Chucky on VHS, and you know, Chucky just was like, it was just so cool having this talking doll who is also relatively scary at times. Brad Dourif's voice for Chucky is just timeless, and it's something that is truly not talked about enough when it comes to horror. Like, he's truly made his stamp on horror, and that's something that I will always be able to appreciate. But yeah, it's just something about Child's Play just really does it for me. I love the story of Andy Barclay and his mom Karen, and she's just basically, for all intents and purposes, a single mom, and she's trying to do the best that she can for her son. And then her son wants this good guy doll, so she scrounges around and finds a way to get it from, and it ends up being a possessed doll by the Lakeshore Strangler Charles Lee Ray. Like, it's just I don't know. And then even the opening of the movie, actually seeing Brad Dourif running around before he puts himself in the doll. Like, love Child's Play, love everything about it, and also one of those movies I could throw out at any time and I'm always love. Coming in at number 6, and this is where I mentioned that you're gonna see some movies that are pretty similar in terms of the general premise of what the movie is trying to do. It's just a different flavor of it. And so starting out with number 6 is the movie It Follows. It Follows, I've said many times on this channel that it is one of the very few movies that to this day can still have me some level of unsettled. Like I said, we've seen all the horror movies, we've seen all the scares, pretty much we've seen everything. So in a lot of ways, I'm just immune to actually being scared. A movie can still be effective if, when the light's off, if that's what you think about, then I feel like, you know, then it was a pretty effective movie. And this movie definitely does that. It's something about something that is continually following you, and it can look like anything, you know. It could look like some of your relatives and family. It could look like a complete stranger, but it's always coming towards you. It's always at a walking pace. Like, I know, you know, if anybody's been on social media, which I'm pretty sure all of you have been, people say something about you receive $100 million, but if you receive the $100 million, there's going to be a snail that's constantly following you, and if the snail touches you, you die. Outside of the premise, then you have pretty solid characters. I love Michael Monroe as Jay. And one thing that is completely underrated that isn't talked about enough when it comes to this movie is the sound design. The sound design is magnificent. It's nothing that you've ever really heard before in a movie. It's really quirky and weird. I'm not exactly sure the best way to explain it, but it's just nothing that you really heard in any other movie before. And then I love setting wise how you can't tell what year it is or anything of that nature, because they're going to a movie theater where the whole movie theater is very old school style. And then you see the neighbor dude, I forgot his name, but he's driving an old station wagon. One of her friends has basically like a Palm Pilot, but it's so many little things that you can't really tell what era they're in. I love stylistic and artistic designs like that, where the director and the producers aren't scared to go out on a limb and just do something that's different. And so this movie just does so much for me, and the opening scene already just grabs you in and takes you for a ride. So yeah, this movie is absolutely the perfect movie to go at my number 6 spot. Coming in at number 5 is a derivative, in my opinion, of my number 6 movie, which is the movie Smile. I've talked about this movie ad nauseum at this point, and this movie takes everything that I love about It Follows and just takes it up a notch and makes it that much more scary, a little bit more entertaining, and just, I don't know. This movie is an absolute masterpiece. I've talked about previously how going into this movie, I thought it was going to be a little cheesy movie, kind of like Truth or Dare, you know, that one Truth or Dare movie where it has the little goofy smiles and everything. Yeah, that's what I was thinking this movie was going to be, more so along the lines of. But then you sit down and you watch the first 10 to 15 minutes of this movie, it had me like complete jaw drop. Like, I was like, oh wait, this is not going to be just this cheesy movie. It actually means something. It has deeper meanings and deeper themes, and talking about trauma and how trauma continuously follows you and how it lives rent-free in your head, and you don't And a lot of people just cannot let that go, and they let that control their lives and the way that they move forward. If you let all that stuff weigh on you, the dread that comes along with it, and then you have this entity that makes the dread of you feeling all of these different feelings even worse, because sometimes you don't even know if what you're seeing is even real. So like, I don't know. It just did everything that I love. That's the best way I can put it. The next movie coming in on this list at number 4 of my favorite horror movies is the movie Sinister. This movie is also one of those movies that is kind of like a legacy horror movie for me, because there is that level of nostalgia, kind of similar to Insidious. But the reason why this one didn't fall down the list like Insidious did is because the biggest thing that makes this movie scary and makes this movie amazing to me, outside of some of the performances from Ethan Hawke, is the Super 8 films. The Super 8 films that he watches is some of the scariest stuff that you could ever watch in a horror movie ever, I think. It's the sound that goes with the Super 8 films while he's watching it, and then just how gritty they are, how old they are. You barely see Bagul in any of the shots. It was easily the scariest theater experience I ever had. Like, I remember sitting in a chair, and this is back in 2012, mind you, so I'm 17. Back in 2012, sitting in the movie theater by myself. I mean, yeah, there were other people, but I went by myself. I was like, you know, whatever, you know, it's just another horror movie, and I love horror, so I'm gonna go watch it. But I just love something about when a movie can, even if you don't really necessarily have expectations for it, but it can wow you when you watch it. It just makes the movie that much better when you don't know really much about it. And you go in and you're just like, wow, jaw drop, like you dang near want to stand up and give the movie an applause. Yeah, it's stuff like that. And so yeah, this one of those movies that can still provide scares to this day. A movie that I forever love and forever appreciate. Now we're at the top 3 of my favorite horror movies. And so coming in at number 3, that movie would be the movie The Ring. So now y'all starting to understand what I meant by how some of these movies are kind of the same. The Ring, It Follows, and Smile are all in a lot of ways the same movie, just different flavors. Smile is strawberry, and It Follows is Rocky Road, and then The Ring is butter pecan. Like, I don't know, like I don't know what else to tell you, but this movie is sort of like the pioneer of those other movies, and just really good. I remember seeing this as a kid, and this was the only movie that like really horrified me, where like I couldn't really watch certain scenes just because, especially like that girl in the closet, like it did, little things like that really got to me. And this movie is just so effective at what it's going for. Every time the curse tape shows on screen or somebody watches it, it just like that imagery is just so unsettling and uncomfortable that I don't even see why people would want to watch it to begin with, whether they're playing around or not, or actually trying to understand the concept like Rachel is in this movie. It's another movie that I can talk all day about. I love it. I really love this movie. It'll forever be one of my all-time favorites. And coming in at number 2 is the movie The Conjuring and The Conjuring 2. So here I had to put both of them because I feel like they are one of the more perfect 1-2 punches that you could ever have in the horror genre. If somebody said that they like The Conjuring 2 more than the original Conjuring, like my brother does, for instance, I wouldn't argue with you, but I think the first one is just a smidge better. Excellent job portraying the Warrens, the whole Perrin family as a whole. Then some of the people that they bring in, like Officer Brad, the Asian guy who records, I forgot his name, but it's all of those things together. And Conjuring 2 does a fantastic job as well. And the Hodgson family house is scary in a lot of ways than the Perrin family house is. And then The Conjuring 2 introduced Valak, which Valak pretty much took over the internet around 2016, around that time. Clear that if you look at this list, that James Wan has really had his imprint on some of my love for horror movies. And coming in at our number 1 spot, and I'm sure for a lot of you, it's not even really that big of a surprise. So that's why I ain't even just like hype it up to be this grand thing. But coming in at my number 1 spot is the movie Halloween. But not just Halloween, Halloween 2. And not just Halloween 2, but Halloween 4 as well. So I had basically dang near the whole Halloween franchise if we're gonna keep it real. Specifically those 3 though, just because I think when I'm watching the Halloween franchise, and everybody knows what Michael Myers, you know, means to me. He's the greatest horror icon of all time. He's the greatest slasher of all time. I think he has the best horror movie of all time, and one of just the greatest movies in general of all time. You have the 1978 original, and you have Halloween 2 being a direct continuation of that same night from the 1978 original. Then you with Halloween 4, you have 10 years later, and the opening of Halloween 4 is the best opening out of all the movies in the franchise. And the continuity between all of it just is what really drives it home, outside of my love for all of the other aspects and Dr. Loomis and Laurie Strode and Daniel Harris and all these other characters. But like I said, this is truly one that I could talk about all day. I mean, I've already done a franchise ranking. I've done my top 5 favorite scenes of the Halloween franchise. I mean, it's just so much that I love about this. Overall, the aesthetic of him, the aesthetic of the Halloween movies, it's me. That's the best way I could put it. It's just, when you think of tech, think of Halloween and think of Michael Myers, because that's just really what it comes down to. But that is all I have, Spooky Gang. These are my top 10 favorite horror movies of all time. These movies mean the world to me, and they're movies that I can throw on anytime and will always enjoy. And so with that being said, y'all comment down below, 1, what do you think of my top 10? And 2, I want to see everybody's top 10. So I want to see a lot of engagement on this. This channel is more than just videos on different topics and things of that nature. It's a community. I actually want to see, the things that you guys love and the things that you guys don't like, things of that nature. And all of that stuff really means a lot to me. You guys are the best. You already know how we rock, Spooky Gang. So yeah, y'all comment that down below. For the new people here, like I said, subscribe to the channel, like the video. We're on the road to 10K subs, so every subscriber matters. So if you go ahead, click that button for your boy, and it'll mean the world to me. But yeah, Spooky Gang, like I said, next video, I'll be dropping what I think is the definitive top 10 best horror movies in the genre. And so that'll be a little bit different from this list for sure, because I'm sure a lot of y'all are like, how in the world do some of these movies make it? But hey, it's my favorite, so y'all deal with it. But anyway, until next time, Spooky Gang, y'all know how we do. Y'all stay blessed and y'all stay spooky.